This module describes the shake package, which describes the strategies to reduce salt or sodium intake. First, we will discuss the importance of salt intake as a risk factor for developing non-communicable diseases. Evidences showed that high salt intake will lead to increased blood pressure, and high blood pressure increases the risk of heart attack and higher risk of death. Developing NCDs and their complications may increase health service expenditure as well as out of pocket expenditure. What is the recommended daily intake of salt and sodium? WHO recommends that the daily salt intake should be less than 5 grams per day or less than 2000 milligrams of sodium per day. 1 teaspoon of salt contains 5.8 grams of salt or sodium chloride and 2300 milligrams of sodium. Therefore, the recommendation is for a person to consume less than 1 teaspoon per day. Though the recommended level of salt intake is less than 5 grams per person per day, the global average salt intake is 10 to 12 grams per person per day. This map shows the mean sodium intake of persons in countries, and it clearly shows majority of countries have high sodium intake than the recommended level. In Sri Lanka, the average salt intake is 13 grams per person per day. The National Population Salt Consumption Survey conducted in Sri Lanka shows that the average salt consumption from all sources is 10.5 grams per day per person per day. 24-hour urine sodium analysis is a proxy measure of mean salt consumption. In Sri Lankan setting, the 24 hours urinary sodium is 8.3 grams per person per day. It shows that males and rural residents have high salt intake compared to their counterparts. It shows that very little salt is found in unprocessed food, while 15 to 25% of salt comes from processed food. It is observed that 70 to 80% of salt is directly added while cooking or at the table in the form of sauces or pickles. There is a wide range in salt content of similar condiments. The global target is to reduce salt or sodium intake by 30% by 2025. Sri Lanka is also targeting a 30% reduction in mean population salt intake by 2025. Shake is the package designed for salt reduction. It has 5 main activity areas: surveillance, harness industry, adopt standards for labeling and marketing, knowledge improvement, and settling supportive environment. The National Salt Reduction Strategy was developed based on the Shake package, and it is based on several guiding principles: political commitment, program leadership and governance, advocacy, multi-sectoral partnership, community empowerment, integration with iodization, and monitoring and evaluation are the key guiding principles. Surveillance is the first strategic direction which covers measure and monitor population salt use. Medical Research Institution conducts the National Population Salt Consumption Pattern Survey and 24-hour urinary sodium analysis periodically. In periodic surveys like STEPS and DHS, the salt consumption patterns of the population is assessed. When we come to harnessing the food industry, the discussions are going on to identify key food categories and to develop a reformulation schedule with the consensus of the food industry. For each identified food category, salt or sodium reduction targets should be set and ensure all new products are not exceeding the recommended salt cutoff level. The need for review and revise of current food standards and regulations has also been identified. Under the Strategic Objective 3, Ministry of Health, with the support of relevant stakeholders, has enforced front of pack labeling since 1st of June 2019. Mandatory back of pack labeling will be implemented in 2021. Nutrient profile model has been developed to categorize foods high or low in salt. Discussions are being conducted with stakeholders, food industry, Ministry of Trade and Commerce, etc., to encourage manufacturers to display back of pack labeling. Strategic Direction 4 is aimed to educate and communicate to empower individuals to eat less salt. A multi-component behavior change communication and mass media campaign. Different information, education, and communication materials have been developed for different target populations. Strategic Direction 5 describes the environment that supports and promotes healthy eating. The canteen guideline is implemented in all government schools, and a workplace canteen guideline circular has been introduced to all institutions of the Ministry of Health. Program is being planned to introduce healthy diet in government hospitals. In the front pack label for packaged solid and semi-solid foods, red is given to foods containing salt more than 1.25 grams per 100 grams. Amber color is given for foods that contain salt between 0.25 and 1.25 grams per 110 grams, while foods that contain salt less than 0.25 grams per 100 grams is given green. This regulation will be fully enforced after 31st December 2020. This slide also shows the color code system in detail. The back of pack label should include the nutrition information in detail per 100 grams and the portion size. Regulations mandating back of pack labeling is being developed and will be implemented in 2021. In summary, high salt is a public health problem globally and locally. High salt or sodium intake is a cause for hypertension. Shake is a comprehensive package developed to reduce salt intake.